Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Happy April Fool's Day.
This is not the show you're looking for.
Yeah, no, So, I was thinking April Fool's, and then I get a text from Randy. And Randy says, I got a flat tire.
And I did.
And he did. So,
But anybody that's
I
ever watched a Christmas Story knows what happens when you get a flat tire.
oh,
Timing.
yeah.
Here we go.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I was like, oh my God, April Fool's Day, and he gets a flat.
Yeah,
Oh,
it wasn't a pretty one. At least I wasn't out on the actual interstate when it happened, or on the loop.
exactly. It could have been worse, right?
Oh yeah, it'd have been a nightmare if it'd been out there. So
Right. I'm watching the weather and I'm thinking, okay, so, they're calling for these storms. They could be severe. And I'm thinking, hey, it'll pass. No, it's not.
no.
No, it is not passing. And I think it's going to put a damper on all my fun this weekend. So I'm a little upset.
Eh, you're gonna be inside. You'll be all right.
That's right. I am. I am.
Just because it's rainy, don't mean it ain't gonna be fun.
Yeah, but when you're driving into tornadoes, that's just not my cup of tea. I'm going to leave that one alone.
Buckle up, you'll be fine. It's okay. Yeah, right about, boy.
Right. Put a bubble around my car. There, we can do
Sounds
that.
good to me. I'm good with that.
Right. But next weekend, I'm going to be at Ashmore Estates in Ashmore, Illinois. It's going to be for suicide prevention. I'm going to be there with my good friend, Dana Stricker. We're going to spend the weekend together. So I'm really looking forward to that. If you're not doing anything anywhere near Ashmore, Illinois, go ahead and get your tickets. You can go to their Facebook and get tickets. That'll show you everything that you need to know. Come on out and support a good cause. And it's just going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. Dustin Perry from Ghost Hunters is going to be there. Jennifer Potter, the psychic, we call her the mermaid, psychic mermaid, whatever you want to call her. She's always colorful and beautiful. She is going to be there also. So, there's a lot of things going on. And so they've got vendors and all kinds of things. So, just come on out next weekend. April 10th, it's going to be open from 12 to 5 for vendors. And then on Saturday, they're going to be holding, of course, all the speakers, more vendors. And Saturday night, there is going to be a ghost hunt that is happening. So, like I said, there's a lot of things going on. So, hey, come out and see me and Dana.
Oh yeah, and then well, you had another question though, because Nemo was asking. So does that mean the sunbathing's off for the weekend?
It is. It is. As you can tell by my skin, it has been off for a mighty long time.
Several years.
I have been spending my time either in the woods where the sun can't get, or I've been in buildings that you really don't want to be in anyway on a normal basis.
You're too busy fighting Lyme disease from those ticks and stuff. So
yeah, that spotted fever stuff.
I just literally just for whatever reason I said that and that Brad Paisley song came in my brain. I'd like to check you for ticks.
Oh yeah, right.
It just all of a sudden popped in. I was like, boy, my mind went off the rails real quick on that one.
Well, I got a surefire thing, and it's Sawyer's. I spray down my clothes, let it dry for 24 hours, and I'm good. It's absolutely fantastic stuff. Gary Spikes Senior had turned me onto that a few years back, and it has been my absolute savior. So thank you for that, Gary.
Yeah, Manco says it reminds me of the same thing. I was about to say, like DEET, the stuff we used to use in the Army. You spray your uniforms down with it, and you had to let them sit, and then you use them the next day.
Yes. And if all else fails and it's not super hot outside, I hate to tell you all this, especially you guys, but pantyhose.
Oh,
pantyhose are your best friend. They can't get through
Germany. Grafenbeer, Germany. I wore them. I admit it, 100%, and I am not afraid to say it.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I'd rather wear pantyhose and get ticks. I'm just saying.
Oh, I don't even talk about ticks. They're warm. You get
Yeah.
out in a German winter, and trying to do maneuvers and stuff. You're like, it's cold out here.
Yeah,
Trust me, those
absolutely.
things help.
Yes, because it snows. Really, really snows out there.
Mm-hmm.
So Donnie, you're being awfully quiet over there. What's happening with you?
I am just chilling for now. Donnie Cho says stuff will make a triumphant comeback this weekend. It
Yay.
will also be the triumphant comeback of one Mr. Jason McLean.
Ooh.
So people watching at home, check out my channel this weekend. And we're going to have a surprise guest.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, by the
Hilarity
looks of the
and
weather,
antics
I
will
will
do it.
definitely be
Yeah.
home, and I will definitely be tuning into that because
No need.
Oh, you're not
let
doing
me
anything
in.
this
I
weekend?
gotta have something good to watch.
Oh, you're not gonna be doing anything? You're not gonna be investigating?
No, that's what he missed the whole beginning of the show, didn't he?
Yeah,
missed
he
the
didn't hear a
whole.
thing.
Yeah, I wasn't paying attention. I'm sorry.
We were just talking about the weather, tornadoes, hail, all that stuff coming through
Yeah.
Randy's region, my region, and I,
Oh yeah, I don't care about that. In my area, it's gonna be sunny and springy and nice. All the furry animals will be coming out.
I hope you go into the
We
Inner
got
Harbor and
cherry
get bit by a
blossoms in
shark.
my yard. My parents are gonna be having a golf marathon this weekend. They're like, we are not doing anything but golf. And yeah, I'm gonna be prancing around the park with my dog. And enjoying the sunshine and the rainbows. And yeah, so yeah, what's the weather going to be like for you this weekend, Randy?
Well, we already know. We already know. So where is our our paranormal show and tell mascot, Mr. Toby? Where's he at?
He is right here.
I was about to say he was on there
lying
earlier.
down.
Yep.
He was there, but then he moved over. Okay.
We got to see our mascot. This is
Toby's like, what the hell? Why are you grabbing me all
Exactly.
this?
Why you grab me? I don't want to be up here. I hope he bites you.
he got a haircut.
Yeah, you got a haircut.
I do not want to be seen like this.
Look at his face. He's like, how dare you?
What? What am I doing?
How dare you?
He's got like freakishly long legs for such a small dog.
Looks like he's ready to bite you. Yeah. And I don't blame him. I'd bite you too.
He is the funniest dog on the show for sure.
Yeah, Leonard's right. Sharks don't go into the Inner Harbor at all. Too dangerous for them. But
all right,
hey,
everybody.
You know what? We got 4 astronauts going around the Earth right now, getting ready to head over to the moon.
We're going to prove all those anti-moon people, those naysayers, wrong, and show that yes, we can go to the moon. Stupid Van Allen belt, get out of here.
Yeah, who cares about the Van Allen belt?
Who cares about that stupid belt?
I'm not so sure about these things. I hear everybody's saying it was a fake, it was this, it was that, and I'm like,
prove it. I got more proof that it's real versus that it's not real.
Well, and I'm thinking they've been to other planets now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Randy, Neil deGrasse Tyson says it's real. If Neil deGrasse Tyson says it's real, it's real.
I wouldn't take everything he says to heart because he's the one that helped get Pluto knocked out of the solar system. So yeah, as far as I'm concerned, he's okay. But yeah, he lacks a little bit of my respect there. You don't knock one of my favorite planets out of there. All right.
Well,
8630's like, so it's not being filmed at Universal Studios?
No, that was a different movie.
That's a different movie. All I got to say is as much as we're tearing this planet up, they're going to have to find somewhere else for us to go.
Yeah.
So they better hurry up and find it somewhere.
Oh, here comes Freaky. Freaky's coming out. She's coming out now, and it's going to get ugly. You watch.
Uh-oh. I was lurking till now.
There goes the neighborhood.
Uh-huh. I wish Little Patty was here. Little Patty was here. At least I could talk Godzilla with her.
Oh, that's true. That's true. I want to start off tonight by saying thank you to Sir Brian Bowden for that first super chat we got. Thank you
Yep.
so much. We appreciate it. Helps us do what we do.
Everybody said it earlier, but I'm gonna show it again. There you go. There we go.
Right.
Thank
Well,
you.
thanks. I usually tune into him after I'm done with this show if he's still on. So,
Yeah,
so
guys,
it's always good.
if you have to tune out from this show, tune into his show.
Oh yeah.
We do run concurrent, but don't tune out from this show, guys.
No.
Daddy's like,
We were
no,
here
no.
before he was there. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh,
Hey,
Mickey
Thank you, Mickey.
G. Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
Mickey.
she owed me that for taking care of her on Monday night anyway.
That's right. That's right. Well, anyway, tonight, guys, we're going to talk about something's burning,
Something is burning.
and it's not the dumpster.
The hunk of burning love.
It's not the dumpster. No dumpster fires today.
Not yet.
Not this show could turn into one, but not
We're working on that right now.
Right now. All right, Downey, what's going on with something's burning?
So, one very seldom discussed topic in the world of the Fortean, right? Because there are a bunch of subtopics. Is one, I've never heard brought up in any of these shows ever.
Never.
Is the one known as spontaneous human combustion. We've all heard of it.
Yep.
It's all one of those mysteries that's been there, a part of this whole realm of mysteries that we're often dealing with. It's weird. We've seen the pictures. We've heard the tales.
Yep. And I got a couple of doctors in here. That way you don't see any body parts and stuff. So.
Yep. And we are going to discuss the phenomena, our thoughts, our opinions, and go over some of the examples in history and some of the details that they were finding, some commonalities, and talk about the investigation. Spontaneous human combustion. It's a very hot topic.
Okay.
Should be hotter.
I should have put that as part of our tagline right there. That's a good one, Leonard. I like that. But Nemo also gave us one there. That's the first place I ever heard of it. Was on In Search Of. It was actually a full episode about it, and it freaked. You talk about a kid this big, it freaked me the heck out.
Oh yeah,
I was like, "What?"
I was weirded out by it too. Just like the images of the feet.
Yeah, the and don't get me wrong, a lot of people said at one time that those were fake body parts, stuff like that. Not in a couple of the cases. They were actual coroner photos. Okay.
So if you are out there and you have a foot fetish, but you're also a fan of mysteries,
there you go.
Deep, profound mysteries, but you also got a foot fetish, then this is the topic for you.
100%.
Oh, Lord. Here we go.
I'm not even going
the fire has started. It's smoldering.
Burn, baby, burn.
Oh yeah, we're coming in armed with puns tonight, folks.
Oh yeah.
So
we were talking, me and Donnie were talking about it last week and then earlier tonight. And I went out and did a little bit of research and I settled on two different specific instances that we talk about. When people, and it's usually the ones that you mainly see when you go out and do a Google search and everything. It's about Mary Reeser and Michael Faraday. Mary Reeser, I can't remember where she was at. Let me look real quick. I'll tell you. She was St. Petersburg, Florida. Okay, in 1951. All right, and then Michael Faraday, he was in Ireland in September of 2011.
Yep, the most recent one was fairly recent.
Yep, and what I found, and I'm going to bring up Michael's pictures right now, just because I made sure, like I said, all these things, if there was any kind of body parts, I made sure you could not see them. Okay, but this is where the Irish came in and found this guy. That's the paper he was reading before he collapsed on the floor and turned into that. Now, just the layman's terms, looking at where the actual fireplace is, and look at how the burn marks are on the fireplace. Could it have come from the fireplace? Yeah, conceivably. But why is only part of the fireplace actually blackened? That's the first question I ask.
Well, and then you have to ask yourself, did this person accidentally catch themselves on fire from the fireplace?
Yeah, exactly. Now the what I found here was this guy was 76 years old. Okay, it was actually in 2010 when he died. 2011 was when the actual coroner ruled on it. It took him till September of 2011, and he actually ruled it was as a victim of spontaneous human combustion. The only one that's ever been ruled by a coroner as spontaneous human combustion. Okay, so that immediately gets you kind of going, what? Wait, what?
Do
What?
you think it's because they have the technology to say that it was internal instead of external? Do you think that's what it was?
He said because, and I'm going to read you exactly what the coroner stated. There was no other adequate explanation for the death of Mr. Faraday. And he said it was the first time in 25 years as a coroner that he ever even thought of such a verdict. The senior fire officers, they told the inquest in Galway in Ireland that they couldn't find how he burned. There was nothing in the actual fireplace at
Yeah.
the time.
Okay.
So that was, and once again, when you're looking at it, and I'll bring this down so we can actually talk about it too. But when you're looking at it, it doesn't look like it looks like something came out of the fireplace. Honestly,
Yeah,
it really does.
it does.
So, but the skeptical mind in me is going, okay, he caught fire, he did this. Now, once again, I blacked out I blocked out some of the parts you didn't want to see, but I'm looking right there at that chair where his paper's still sitting. If somebody, man, whatever where he's at and where he's laying right there, if he'd have caught on fire, wouldn't you think there would have been a lot more moving around instead of just laying down and dying right there?
Yeah, you would expect to see like more scorch marks or anything from where he'd been flailing around, any more burn marks on the carpet, which even if he spontaneously combusted, you
Mm-hmm.
would still think you would see that though. I
Yeah,
mean,
you would
because
think.
that he would be on fire.
But what what they're saying is with spontaneous human combustion is it's so localized and so hot it only burns the fuel source it has, which is right there. Kind of like anybody ever white phosphorus grenades. Okay, they burn through everything. They burn through if it gets on you, it will burn you. But quite frankly, it may not necessarily start a real fire. You know what I mean?
Okay, so you're saying that it's like a controlled burn within your
Exactly.
body. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's one of the theories for sure.
Okay.
And I
Then
think, yeah, the main thing or the main detail that perplexes people is that nothing around it is burned. Because
yeah, I
if you
mean,
go back to that photo, like the chairs all look fine.
yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
I mean,
Yeah.
there should be more burn there. You know, there should be, even if he just caught on fire, there should be more burn there. And like I said, I just don't get why there's not. I can't understand it.
well, okay. So people say, okay, so the earth is basically the middle of the earth is at such a high temperature that it's like lava,
Uh huh.
da 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 da, but yet on the top, we're on the surface, we're fine.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I could possibly see, that type of scenario happening within our body that we're just burning up. And then the outside is just what the remnants happens. It's like it takes care of the insides and then it just slowly burns the outsides. Um, so I could see that happening, but is there okay. So is there a scientific reason why this is happening to people?
Not that
Randy,
I
I'll let
know
you
of.
take it.
Not as far as a scientific reason for somebody to respond. No, not that I know of. Okay. There's nothing. There's methane in your body. Yes. Anybody that lets a fart out. No, you got methane in your body,
Everybody
which
has it,
is
everyone.
flammable,
Yes.
okay? But it doesn't permeate your pores, okay? It doesn't permeate your skin and your hair to the point that you become flammable. These things, like the one we just showed with which one was it? Randy Victoria. Okay, Randy says it burns so hot and fast, nothing else catches fire. I've seen that before with actual fires being set. You've actually used an incendiary device, and it burns so hot and so fast, it just has time to burn that one area, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
You have
Mm-hmm.
So,
experience with those things because of your
and
army
I've
experience.
seen it. I've
Yeah,
seen it, but not unaided. You know what I mean? It has to be set off.
right.
What's in some people's bodies that makes them do that and not others then? I mean, it doesn't scientifically it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But there's a lot of stuff that don't make sense in the world. So I mean,
Yeah,
what
I mean, I'm sitting here thinking about what could possibly turn our internal gauge to such a high temperature that it would actually spark a fire. And I'm just thinking about it, and a funny thing came to my mind, and all the some of the ladies out there can agree with me. Menopause, we feel like we're on fire. We
yeah.
feel like we're going to spontaneously combust because our
Mhm.
internal temperature is so high at times that all we can do is just sweat. We could be sitting in an air conditioned room and feel like we are going to just set on
Yeah.
fire.
Yeah.
um and we're going through hormonal changes, and i'm
Mhm.
I'm just wondering if maybe hormonal changes or something to that effect could be one of the scientific reasons that we're discussing.
Yeah.
And it just kind of like, when you pour like vinegar and baking soda together, it foams. And maybe something like that isn't
Yeah.
occurring in our bodies internally,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
it's just like poof.
I mean, 19th century, there's several like the Manchester Guardian and stuff that they over in England. There were actual hosts of references to spontaneous combustion, and it just never was taken. It was taken with a grain of salt, like it is now for the most part. People just saying it, but almost all of them are involving something along the lines of warehouses, ships, and cotton mills. Which anybody that's ever been had a hay barn knows
Uh-huh.
that hay can go up without anything hardly. It just all of a sudden just will. Pops knows. Pops has been a hay guy for I don't know how long.
Uh-huh.
It
Uh-huh.
will just all of a sudden be smoldering and then boom, it's on fire. Yeah,
Yeah.
see, Manco's got it right. Square bales do that if they're cut and stacked green because they're damp inside, and it just is fuel to the fire. It gives it an ignition source of some sort in there, but
Okay,
still,
so I was looking
Them
at.
being damp makes them more flammable?
what's that?
Wait, bales
No,
of
talk about
hay
bales of hay. Once
yeah,
they're
if
once
they're
ba-
damp, they're more flammable?
yeah, because what it does is does nothing but mold and mildew inside. So it's
Oh,
doing nothing but creating a tinderbox, if you want to call it that.
oh,
So
I see.
eventually, once one little bit of it starts to combust, and it just all goes.
Right. Well, Moon had brought up something interesting, which people don't say when they think of spontaneous combustion, which is called the Wick effect. I
Yeah,
just looked it up so I could get a good
well, I've got a full write
explanation
up
on
for
it.
you on it. Too. Yeah,
Yeah,
I love it.
it says the Wick effect is a forensic theory explaining how a human body can burn extensively with limited damage to surroundings, acting like an inside-out candle.
Hmm.
Melted body fats fuel the fire while clothing acts as a wick, creating a slow-burning flame that can consume a body over several hours.
Yeah.
And keep it contained. And
And
keep it contained. That was
isn't that that is wild? That is
Yeah.
absolutely wild that your body can do that. So, what do you think? I mean, what do you think causes that spark, though? There's got to be something that sparks that flame. It's something,
Yeah.
you know.
It has to have something that has started it in some way, shape, or form. It
In
may
some of
not
the
be
Right.
cases of human combustion, the victim had like pipe tobacco
Yep.
going,
Okay.
Could have got an ember on them
fireplace.
from a fireplace. Yeah.
Yeah, they think one theory is that because there's some weird commonalities with a lot of the people who have been victim, who were victim to spontaneous human combustion. One, a lot of them were elderly,
Hmm.
mostly women, but there were some cases of men as well.
Well, like
It
I
happened
said,
in
the
their homes.
women.
It happened in their homes. Um, I only found cases like in the UK or in America. I couldn't really find any instances like in any other parts of the world. Um,
That brings me to another curious thing. Maybe it's what we're eating. Maybe that is
lifestyle.
escalating yeah, our lifestyles. This, that could do that. Other countries rely more on fruits and vegetables
Yeah.
and more natural ingredients than we do here. I mean, look at, okay, Donnie, just hear me out. The Asian influence. They're dealing with more fresh ingredients. They're not so much into packaging and all of that stuff. It's more natural what they're eating versus what we do. Everything comes in a bag, a bowl, a box, something, something,
Yeah.
you know. And maybe it's what we're giving our bodies,
Well,
that
I can see
could
where
help
you're going
people.
with it. I can see where
Hmm.
you're going with it, but the problem is that a lot of these that we're talking about, you got one in 2011 or 2010 in Ireland, and then you got
Okay,
one in
you're
1951 in the States. Then you got another one in I think it was 1876 that I saw the report on that was in England, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah. So,
Manchester. So it's
so
all
okay.
over.
Well, it's basically Europe and America.
That's being reported. That is.
Yeah,
Other
that's being reported.
Yeah,
I'm sure that something else would have been reported at some point somewhere. Um,
I don't know anymore. Honestly, I don't know half the stuff that gets out there that whether it's being reported properly or what. And if you're talking about the wilds of Africa, they're not reporting that stuff. Obviously, okay, this one got burned up. He had something happen to him, caused him gone. That's what they did.
Reporting
Same,
methods would, yeah.
Middle East the same way. So I don't know, and that's a heavy protein diet there too in Middle
well,
East.
yes and no. Yes and no. Because we all know that Africa has a heavy European influence and has for
Hmm.
many years, many years.
Hmm.
So I'm not necessarily on board with that.
Okay.
Um, I am. I'm honestly believing that it could be something within our chemical makeup. It's something that maybe I don't know. Maybe Randy, you're going to be more prone to it than Donnie. Maybe
Mhm.
I'm going to be prone to it more than you guys, and it just takes just the right thing at the right time for it to happen. And it's so rare
Yeah.
that,
You can't establish a pattern. You can't really establish a pattern at all.
right,
So
right. Like I said, it may be in our DNA.
yeah,
It may be in our DNA, and it just takes that perfect moment
I
that
agree.
one in a trillion moment for it to
And
happen.
Yeah.
yeah, it's
I
just
don't
one of those. God, it's one of those that you just look at and you go, it scares you to death to think that that could actually happen to somebody around you too. What do you do?
absolutely,
What do you do?
absolutely.
Honestly, that's the problem I've got with a lot of them is because 99 point. I don't think there's been any recorded. actual observations of it happening. That people leave, people only come back hours later and they burn up.
In some of the instances, it was fast too. Like
Yeah.
one case, it was like one woman was completely reduced to ash in like 20 minutes.
Yeah. That was the one in, I think that was Mary Reeser, if I'm not mistaken, the one in 1951.
Well, there is a report here in Missouri. It wasn't to do with a human, but it was to do with a horse. And it is in the infamous Marley Woods, where they are talking about it being more like Skinwalker Ranch. Okay, it's got all of this phenomena going on within it. And they were talking about how they had went in and in the barn with the horse and blah, blah, blah. You know, they were messing around with the horse, da, 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 doing other stuff, left, came back not very long later, and this thing was in actual pieces, like it kind of exploded from the inside out. You know, and it was charred as if it, you know, if it had done the same thing as, you know, spontaneous combustion.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering there, because then we're talking about methane gas.
Yeah. That now, but I'm also reading, you know, like I said, we were talking about the wick effect, you know, like you talk about.
Yes.
Would the methane actually start on its own?
Unless there was a spark again. I mean, you know, as we know, a spark can come from anywhere in a barn. Okay, you know, a lot of people for decades have been putting electricity in their barns now, so we know that could possibly do it, wiring or whatever. Again, it could be somebody smoking a cigarette, or it could be a pipe, or it could be just as simple as a lantern or whatever. Just a simple spark. So you know, this is a very weird subject for me, because I'm always trying to figure out scientifically how it could happen.
Yeah.
Not necessarily thinking that this could be something, you know, supernatural, that there's got to be an explanation for it. We just can't figure it out. Like I said, I think that everything has to be just right for this type of thing to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very, very, very rare that it does.
Yeah.
Do we have any more like photographs or anything of anything else happening? Donnie, I know you had one. Did you happen to cover up what I asked you to?
No, I didn't. I don't have any photos. Randy's got all of them.
I've got one.
Okay.
Well, I only got the two. Like I said, this is from the Mary Reeser case, and this was 1951, and it was St. Petersburg, Florida, and you can see where they're going over. That was her chair right there that they're going through right now.
Yeah, she was probably one of the most famous ones.
Most famous one, because she literally sat in her chair, and she wasn't the fast one that I was talking about. Because what they said was that she somehow
that just makes me okay. So that puts me in a different frame of mind now that you're saying that, because she was 67 and well over menopause. Mm-hmm. So her body wouldn't be suffering from the things that women going through pre or during or post.
She shouldn't
have had that.
Yeah.
But see, her whole chair went up with her.
Yeah. And parts of her apartment. Now, this one was the one, it wasn't, it said it remains largely intact, but obviously there was some damage outside of the immediate vicinity of her to certain parts of the apartment. I don't know what. They didn't have any pictures of the rest of the apartment, just that main one. And then, of course, the one that has the body parts that you don't want to talk about. So.
See, this one versus the other one that we were talking about with the photo.
Uh-huh.
This one is more believable to me due to the fact there was more damage. It just wasn't localized, even though it was localized in that photo that we had seen, you know, in front of the fireplace. It seems like there would be something more charred, even like an outline or something, because the heat radiating off of that body would have been so massive that it would have done something. It would have melted something, done something more than just the body. You know what I mean? I get that it was, but look, he was laying on a rug. That's highly flammable.
Yeah.
So it would seem like there would be an burnt outline versus what we were just looking at. I mean, more so. It seems like we'd see more char, around where the body should be at. So, I mean, that makes me wonder if that one we were talking about is real, or if it's just the guy caught himself on fire, or fell asleep, or done something, fell down. I don't know. I mean, there's a
It's tough
thousand
to
things that
say.
could have happened. Yeah, exactly. He's had a pipe and he was smoking, fell down, hit his head, pipe fell on, boom. But again, that would that wouldn't char his body as much and as localized as that would have been. I don't know.
You would
I don't know.
you'd have
This is
thought, yeah.
creepy. This is creepy.
The whole
Nemovier
I mean,
asked,
concept is creepy.
Nemovier asked, when was the last time this happened? The most recent case I was able to find was 2011, 2012.
Yeah.
Now, I'm pretty sure this happens more often than is reported, but in other
yeah.
places, in other cases, it just doesn't get reported as spontaneous human combustion because most coroners won't go there.
Or maybe the physical damage is not as well seen. You know what I mean? It's not like the whole body is gone. It's kind of like maybe it has done organ damage, and to where they had passed away from the organ damage, and it didn't do anything to the outer body, but to the insides, to the organs it could have, and they're not going to call that spontaneous combustion. They don't want to go there for what little evidence there would be available.
Yeah, I agree.
I-
I'm working on this one picture so I can get the parts off you want. But
Yeah, I don't
there's a
know.
big problem that I have with this one that we're about to talk about that I'm about to show you because um, this looks a little bit different than the one we looked at originally. And the only reason I say that is because I didn't notice another, and I've got to look at the second one again. But let me get this one saved first. But there's a little bit of a difference between them because I got to save this properly. Um, with this one, I see a walker and I see a toilet in this one, and it doesn't say anything about her toilet being there. This is where I started
Oh,
getting. Wait a second, maybe they're not giving us the full deal on it. So,
yeah. It's like they're trying to make it to be something that it really wasn't. They were just trying to
yeah, uh,
give it a cause. You know what I mean? It's okay. It happened because of this, and
yeah.
that's
I'm
it.
I'm gonna load this thing up because, like I said, it was. I looked at it and I was like, it doesn't look quite the same. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And here's this one, and you see where I blocked out part of it. But like I said, that looks like a walker, and that looks like a hole in that floor.
It's the Reese case.
That's supposedly the Reese case. Okay, this is what I found out just looking for other stuff. Now I found several of the ones like we looked at originally, which was to this one. Found several of these like this where they're looking at this, but I have yet to see a toilet in any of these others, and there's no walker there. You know what I mean?
Go back to it. Would you, Randy? Go back to it.
There you go. That's a hole in the floor underneath that walker there. Which in that case she wouldn't have been sitting in a chair.
Yeah, I mean,
I think that it was her remains were found in the chair. I think maybe the room was maybe the room was underneath and the fire burnt up.
Could be, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, it was
But
said.
what
Yeah, I'm reading the details of the case. It's saying that her landlady found her
found it? Yeah,
ashes amongst the remnants of a chair which she had been sitting.
yeah, that's what I'd
Um,
read too. But that this photo doesn't show a chair that she would have been sitting in. There's a toilet right there. That's a bathroom. That's a bathroom with a hole in the floor.
That's
Yeah,
well,
that's not
that's
where she died, though. I don't think.
Now, but this part that I've got black I got erased out. That's the body part we're talking about.
okay.
The foot that was there. That's it. Is where it's at right there.
All right, now go back to the other picture.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
because
find it.
that doesn't even look like the same place. You know what I mean? That doesn't look like.
Well, let me see if I can save this one right here real quick. I hope I can. Okay, there we go. Downloads. All right, now I'm going to add another one here. Now this one is a bigger picture of this one right here.
Okay.
Let me add it in. Okay, so this is a bigger, maybe a little bit easier to see. Now you got a wider view here. Tell me that doesn't look like a kitchen behind them. First of all,
I I
Yeah,
I don't know what that looks like to
I
me.
can't tell. I cannot tell. But
it
just
looked like
looking
just
at
a
it like
pile
this,
of rubble. Yeah.
and I can't tell where it's at. And most likely at that time frame, they would not have wanted to put any of this out in the papers anyway. So this probably may not even be. These may not even be pictures of the actual site.
Yeah.
Right. I It doesn't seem like it to me because that the picture we're looking at right now seems to be like a whole lot more debris
Mm-hmm.
than what they're
And
just
it's all,
saying because they were saying it was her in the chair.
yeah, because if I
That's
remember right, and I'm looking at other spots, you keep talking, but I'm just trying to
eh,
see if there's any other spots that I can see that this would have been part of because it doesn't make any
right.
sense.
Yeah, I would have a tendency to believe the where the walker and the hole in the floor in the bathroom that could have been more like it because of the localized burn of where it was. This looks like an absolute fire because if you look at the walls and stuff above of this picture, it
Yeah,
looks like they had to tear down some drywall
actually,
and
I'm finding a couple other pictures, and yeah, you're right. It looks like there's some drywall, but it looks like it's coming from the ceiling above it. She may
yeah,
have burnt through up there and came through.
uh, I don't
Oh,
know.
Randy, I found the picture you were talking about with the toilet. That was
Yeah.
from a different case. That was the death scene of John Irving Bentley,
Okay.
in
So see,
1966.
then there's the problem. Once again, we've got people putting stuff
Yeah.
co-located in the same spots. This is
Yeah, he
a
died at
big
the age of
problem with that.
92 in the bathroom of his house.
Okay. All right. And he's another one that was as suspected spontaneous combustion.
Yep, and this happened in Pennsylvania.
Okay. That makes more sense. Okay. Because this one that we're looking at right now would make more sense of her being down there and, in a chair in this particular location. Because I can't tell exactly what that is behind this gentleman here, but it's it's just hard to see
They
what they're looking
believe
at.
they think that he found himself on fire and he walked to the bathroom to try to put himself out and fell and then
And
continued to burn.
getting
And
burned
that's
bad
why
like
he was
that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay. All
that's
right.
painful. That's painful.
Okay.
I don't even want to think about that. Oh,
All right. Got that. All right. That makes sense.
I'm still trying to find something, anything that would lead me
Another
to believe
picture of something.
that's the only thing of hers. Then is this one right here that we can even think is hers. I've got a picture of a chair, but I don't think it's the I don't think it's the legit. I think it's somebody screwing around with stuff.
Putting false information out there. Yeah.
Well,
That's
I just trying to like this one right here. Is we're looking at that. Somebody's augmented that photo because I just found the actual the paper newspaper clipping. Somebody's already enhanced this photo to start with. Um, you can tell that just from the clarity of it, honestly. But I'm looking
yeah.
at the original photo and I'm like, okay, that looks like a newspaper spot there. But
Yeah,
there,
Freaky is asking a question. Are these spontaneous combustion people part of the raptured? I would say no.
no,
I would say
I don't
no.
think.
Because the rapture
No.
is talking about taking all of the people at the same time, not taking them in spurts. It's all at one
There would
time.
be a
But then
lot more
again,
people if that were the
yeah,
case.
yeah, you interpret how the Bible, how you do, and I will do it, of course, my way. Of course, that's the freedom of Christianity. It's great.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is the rapture does talking about taking all of the innocent back at one time. It's not a delayed reaction where we have one here, one here, one here. It's like
Or
all
as
at
far as
once.
we're concerned, anyway, is what we
Right.
believe that's what it's going to be.
Now, of course, interpretation could say that it could happen over years. You may be right. I mean, it could happen over time. It was explained to me one time, like big natural disasters, things like that, where it takes a lot of people at one time. That could be part of the rapture. It's a hard one to go into because you have to throw your scientific brain and on the back burner and just go with your spiritual brain and go with what you feel on that. So like I said, it's open to interpretation on how you feel about it, but I would think that there would be um I would say the best thing that I've heard is that they're taking them out in groups, like they're just taking
Yeah,
them in groups.
I can see that.
Because if you listen to Jason McLean will tell you we're already in the trials and tribulations when he's talking on the spiritual side of things, that they've already begun a long time ago. We are now running through it. You may
Well,
be right. I don't know. Like I said, I am not Jason McLean because he is our Bible guru. And so when I have questions, I
Or
go to
theologian,
him
yeah,
to ask him
the
his
Bible guy.
interpretation.
Yeah.
Right. So he would
now
be the one to ask.
this one that we were looking at, though, this right here, when I was talking about finding it on the actual newspaper clipping says shoveling rubble at the spot where the disintegrated body of Mrs. Mary H. Reeser, 67, was found in an apartment. I won't even give the address, but and their fireman Nelson Adders with the guy with the shovel, and then Winthrop Standish. Fragments of the corpse and pieces of an easy chair were in this corner of the apartment shown. So everything's already been removed, and they're going through the rubble right there, according to the write up in the paper.
Well, it kind of looks like that they had to put out a fire or something, or
Well, yeah,
tear down some stuff or something, because it looks like the walls are missing.
yeah,
It
and that's what I'm
absolutely looks
thinking.
like something's missing back there.
Makes me think that when she did have this issue, she
Yeah.
caught that part of the house on fire a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and I'm with Vincent. Yeah, spontaneous combustion is just wild. All the way around, it's wild. That
Yeah.
wicking effect, that
And Nemo says, painful way for God to call you home. We don't know if these people felt anything.
yeah.
Like
The rumor was that they were asleep or they had already passed, and then it happened. That's
Right.
that's another avenue of approach at it. That people have and theories that people put out. They pass, and the buildup in the gases and such in their body
Yes.
happens so fast that it just naturally combusted.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard people that have this is a terrible thing to talk about, but I have heard about the massive swelling in bodies that have not been taken care of
Yeah,
in a proper amount of time, and they hadn't been found. So they had produced that swelling. And
yeah.
could I see that happening?
Oh,
Yeah,
100%.
I can. I can. So, I mean, that does make a lot of sense. But again, if you've already passed, where does the spark come from if your organs aren't working?
So the one where Randy showed the picture of the bathroom, the John Arthur
Mhm.
Bentley case,
Yeah.
that one was different because in that particular case, he had a meter guy. He brought him into the house and he was checking the meters in the basement for
When it
for
happened.
Dr. Bentley, and then he noticed it said that he noticed a flame and a blue. He described it as like a bluish kind of smoke that smelled very unusual for smoke. It was like almost
Yeah.
sweet. So
burning
he was
human
there
flesh.
in the room, in the apartment as it was happening, or there in the house. He wasn't in the room because John Irving Bentley was upstairs going to the bathroom while the meter guy was downstairs checking the meters.
Yeah.
But
So,
that would take out the case of him being dead for a while and then bursting into flames, because he had seen him minutes before
Yeah.
that.
right.
Yeah.
But it also puts into play that it happened so fast that they may not feel anything at all. You
Yeah,
know,
I mean,
it's just like bam. It's because if you're talking about this whitish blue flame and and it doesn't linger, that means it's flash.
yeah,
It's
and
just,
that one supports that speed burn theory,
yeah.
whereas hers kind of supports the slow wicking burn
The fl-
theory.
Which again, that could have been her circumstance.
Could have been.
He describes the smell of the smoke as somewhat sweet, like starting up a new oil burning central heating system. I guess this guy
Okay.
was that guy and kind of knew that smell.
I mean, because
Smell of burning
the
flesh.
first thing that you would think of is flesh. You would smell that right away, but I guess you wouldn't. I mean, because it's
Oh
like
yeah, you will.
it sounds like that it's just automatic like combustion, like a boom, and all you see is the flash and everything, and then the smoke and the smell come after.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, and depending on where he was standing in the basement, it might have taken him a minute to get up the stairs to figure out what was going on before that hit him.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, guys. This is a weird subject that
Yeah.
you're right. A lot of people don't talk about because, well, we don't know how it happens.
Mm-mm. We don't know if it's even really happening. That's the thing. But
I don't know.
some evidence supports it, some evidence doesn't. It's just nobody wants to make that call. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, how are you going to explain how your body can reach a temperature where it would just incinerate itself?
Yeah.
How can you say, well, it's because of this? Because once our body hits 104, we know we're sick. We need to get help. Once
Mhm.
we reach 106, you are in imminent danger.
Yeah. You're gonna fry your brain.
Right. You are in imminent danger. Anything higher than that would be instantaneous
Pretty
death.
much.
So we've got to think about that. So if we know that 104, okay, so let's just talk about it. 104 would be like hand washing water, nice, warm hand washing water.
Yeah.
Something that's going to feel, maybe a little bit too warm, but it's going to be okay to wash your hands in it. You're not going to burn yourself. You're fine.
Yeah.
110 is usually dishwater.
Mhm.
That's usually where it's at. So think about that. If your body is getting into that mode where you're up over 106 degrees,
Yeah.
your
And
brain's going to bubble.
I'm not even thinking about it. I'm thinking those in two different, a fever, which is kind of where you're going with it. A fever, I'm thinking of that as something totally different than the combustion side of it. I'm thinking of that's an infection of some sort that's causing your body to fight it off with the fever and all that other crap.
Well, I
Whereas,
know, but I mean, you've got to think of I'm not talking about similarities. I'm
no,
talking
no.
about
I know what you mean.
if you're talking about spontaneous combustion versus a high fever, there is
Yep.
a definite split between the two.
Oh,
Your
100%.
spontaneous is you're going to burn from the inside out.
Yeah. And leave nothing. No bones, no nothing. Bones are gone. Other than fragments, the bones are gone. As if you were cremated. That's another issue right there. You could take a human body out and put that sucker in a douse with gas, set it on fire,
Okay, so
and you're going to leave bones.
Somebody look up what the temperature would be to incinerate. That's what that's the temperature we're dealing with. Like like an instantaneous incineration. That's the temperature we're going to have to deal with, because we're talking about no remains or very little left, that it's completely charred.
Well, for cremation, it's 1400 to 1800 degrees Fahrenheit.
Which is way above any gasoline.
Right. So we're talking about high fever, and we know at high fever, it you know, it can do away with you. But we're talking about incineration.
Yeah, that's for cremation, which typically takes about 1 to 3 hours.
Right, and we're talking about
incineration like that would be way higher.
instantaneous.
But again, we're talking about how do we know that these people were instantaneous, other than the guy that you were talking about in the bathroom. He was as close as probably you're going to get to it. But the rest of them, we don't know how long they were there. They were found the night before, hours before, whatever, and then they were found like they were. So who's to say how long they actually burned?
Well, they're talking about spontaneous.
Yeah.
Right.
But not instantaneous, spontaneous.
Good question.
That's the one thing.
It is a good question. I mean, because
just don't know how long. Yeah.
We have the one story, of course, the guy in the walker, but this other lady didn't. Okay, we need to go back to her story, because they said something about not seeing her for a day, or what was that? Or I don't know how they find her.
The landlady found her because they were doing a wellness check. They hadn't heard from her in a day.
In a day.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we know that happened in the 24-hour period.
Yeah.
So that's pretty quick.
Yeah. So she could have, burnt for a couple hours and burnt to where to that point. But again, we're talking the localization of the burning means that the body was the fuel, as far as best I could tell.
So there was no smoke coming from the home. There was no unusual smell that anybody reported. That's what's strange. You would think that with that type of, burning, that you would feel or you would smell or see some type of smoke of some sort.
Yeah. Now, there was one
it's sad.
wolf,
I mean, it's absolutely sad.
Put up there the time fertilizers were combustible, which there are some fertilizers still that are combustible. But even on the clothing, people caught fire from, being around the fertilizers, caught fire, and they had no realization that they were on fire. So, I mean, could something like that have happened with them? Yeah, I would say you could, but then we're talking again, though, the fuel of the body to do that level of burning and to reduce you to nothing. I don't know if the body is really capable of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, do you remember the big thing about when they came out with all these pajamas for kids and clothing and things like that were fire retardant? Do you remember that? Where that was the big rage, that everybody needed these fire retardant clothes.
Yeah.
I don't know how that would help anyone, honestly, because it just kind of helps not start a fire, but it can. It's not like it's totally fire resistant.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, if everything around you in your home is on fire and you're in the middle of it, your fire retardant clothes aren't going to help you.
No, the majority of house fire fatalities are due to smoke inhalation anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they never really. A lot of them will burn up, but they're dead before they burn. So
that's what I said. That's what I mean. It didn't make any sense to me why they would put themselves in fire retardant clothes. I
can't tell you that one honestly, because
I don't know.
They did the same thing to us going to Iraq in 2003, or correction, in 2009. They had just come out with the ACUs that were fire retardant, and they made us carry them with us. We had to,
and I can understand that.
I never wore them. I literally put them up and wore my normal ACUs.
Well, I can understand. Because if you're under fire or things like that, there may be, something that may spark this, that, or the other. If you're under some type of fire, whatever. I can see that.
Then why do they want to charge me if I got a hole in one?
I don't know. That's
200,
neither for us.
$200 for one of those dang things. No, hell no. That's just getting put up and it's going to get turned in.
That's not for us to determine. You're gonna have to
my quartermaster
discuss
stuff.
that with someone else. But in the case of spontaneous combustion, would fire retardant clothes prevent char from around the body?
Nope.
Probably
I don't
not.
think so. Not at that temperature. That stuff's going up just like anything else. It may resist for a few, but at that temperature, no, I don't think so at all.
Two famous cases happened in Pennsylvania about 2 years apart, 64 and 66.
Oh, yeah.
Conway and then that Dr. John Irving Bentley.
Yeah.
Both in Pennsylvania.
But
60.
they didn't have any pictures to go along with her, did they?
Oh, she's actually the most famous one, but I can't show it. It's the one
Yeah,
where
that's the one with the 2 legs?
Yeah, that's hers.
Okay. Yeah. We can, and she's got the most.
Well,
that one actually
Randy
has
can
the
pull
most
that up, and he does his little sketch. He does his little sketch over it.
What was her
Okay,
name?
so
Helen Conway, Conway.
So if we're talking about could it be environmental? Could it be something within our environment that is causing this, or causing the spark, should I say, that we have it in our DNA, that we are chemically able to spontaneously combust, but we need the right spark. So, you're talking about 2 years apart. Could it have been something environmental? We have been talking about the ozone layer kind of, having a big old hole in it and all kinds of other things. There is something out there that has to explain this.
Well, the 2 people in Pennsylvania, I did notice, Brandy, interesting little tidbit, both were smokers.
Okay.
Big thing right there.
So that could have been their spark.
Both were elderly smokers.
Okay. So that could have been the spark. But it also could have been just a freak thing that happened. Okay. So you're sitting there, you fall asleep with a cigarette in your hand. And it smoldered and burnt, and you were gone. And it smoldered and burnt, but didn't do anything but damage where you were at physically.
Right.
That it just burned itself out, ran out of fuel, something. I've heard of weirder things happen. It's like somebody has a house fire and then all of a sudden, like, only one little part of the house burns, when in all actuality, just the right draft would have set the whole place on fire. You know what I mean? And then,
yeah.
So could that have been a factor? Maybe. But you would think that the coroners would have caught that. But if the evidence is like burnt up with them, then how would they have it? How would they know? Even a cigarette with a filter, that's just going to burn up immediately in a super hot fire. There's not going to be anything left. Not unless they tested everything within, that radius. They would have to be testing all the soot and everything to see if they could find anything, which they do. I mean, they test it for accelerants and all kinds of stuff. So they may, I don't know. Would they have caught it? I don't know.
Here's that one. I blurred out the body part, so
okay.
You see what it did to that corner.
Yeah. Like it was literally localized to that spot.
Yeah, and you could see the arm and the remnants of that chair that she was in.
He went
Yes.
up in like 20 minutes because there were people in the house as well in her case.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, are you serious?
Yeah.
That's quite frankly, that's just outright insane.
So at the time, this was in Upper Darby, Pennsylvania, which is like near the border between Pennsylvania and New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
She was babysitting her for her daughter's kids. She was upstairs, her grandkids were downstairs. She had just asked her granddaughter to come up and bring her some matches because she wanted to smoke. And then, like 20 minutes later, one of her friends walking by the house noticed a glow coming up from the room, tried to go up to investigate because there were kids in the house.
Yeah.
And she said that the temperature was so hot she couldn't even go upstairs. So whatever would burn her, was really hot.
Now,
Okay.
here, seems like it's from the inside out. And it kind of looks like that.
It does. But you're talking about this lady saying that she couldn't even go upstairs because it was so hot. But look at the burn pattern, okay, is very localized to that chair she's in.
Yeah, and I'm trying to see. It's hard to see on that phone that's sitting there.
The picture is way more intense when you leave the actual legs in. For those of you who are curious, look up Heather Conway Human Combustion.
Yes, but
see where her legs are. It's way more intense.
We do have people who are sensitive to these type of things, so we won't show the whole thing.
No.
But if you see the burn pattern, it's very localized. So the hole upstairs shouldn't have been hot. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, you could be burning there, and the heat resonating off of it could have been that hot. But my question is, why didn't everything plastic in there melt if it was that hot?
That's what I'm saying. Well, why isn't there more damage?
No, I'm looking at a bigger picture right now on the other side, or the other or the unedited, and that phone is melted down. The dial is literally sliding down in the face of it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So the phone is melted down. I can't see enough of the light fixture there on the right.
I'm seeing it. But look at the doll next, or that thing next to it.
Yeah,
like
the lamp.
It looks like a doll on a lamp.
Yeah, it's a lamp. And I was trying to look to see if I could see anything there. Now, I can't tell if that's plastic or if it's actual metal too, though.
Yeah.
But you can see that dial on that phone is melting away. It's sliding down as the phone casing is melting.
Yeah, if you look on the table, on the other table, it looks like whatever is sitting on top of the table is burnt.
Yeah,
but the shape of the leg and everything, it tells me that table's probably metal.
Yeah, and it's singed around the front edge. I can tell that.
Right.
Which, man, if it's an actual metal table with those kind of legs, usually would make me think a metal table for sure.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious, that's some heat to do that kind of damage just even on that corner.
Yeah. I mean, did it say, okay, does it go on to further to say that they had to call somebody to put this fire out, or did it just go on its own, or it doesn't give you that information?
That information, let me see.
But I would be interested because there are things on the walls that are showing like dripping. So I mean, I can't see above it. Like if there was a picture up there or a shelf or something that had something on it that could drip.
I can't seem to find anything else. But I'm not looking at the story either. I'm looking at the actual
okay, let me read you this bit of detail, okay?
Okay.
He was so intense, the neighbor lady was unable to make it upstairs, called the fire department. Firefighters searched the smoke-filled room. This happened in the morning. And then one of them stuck his hands into something greasy, which turned out to be the remains of Helen Conway. So all that was left of her were her legs from the knee down. Lower legs and feet were unburnt, but blisters. 2 blisters broke on her leg during examination. They were wet, but did not leak fluid. This is a clear indication that the 51-year-old widow was alive as she burned.
Oh,
Her left arm, which had burned down to the bone, still had a bracelet eerily dangling from it. Only major signs of fire damage was on the chair she was sitting at. Telephone sitting nearby had begun to melt, but a pack of cigarettes on the same table were not affected.
that's
Yeah, I
insane.
see that.
Sheets
Mhm.
on the adjoining bed were spotless, but the television set sitting on a drawer had melted, while a highly flammable doll sitting next to the TV was nearly untouched.
Now,
And it
I'm gonna
says that Miss Conway was a very heavy smoker, and she was a bit careless with her cigarettes. She had multiple cigarette burns were found in her furniture in her bedroom. And yeah, they're thinking she somehow lit herself on fire while she was smoking.
yeah, because I'm reading one thing here too, and it's laying it all as a wick effect with her.
The wick effect, yeah.
Um, firefighters searched the smoke-filled room at 8:48 a.m. and one of them stuck his hand into something greasy, which turned out to be her remains.
Yeah.
Okay. So
We just got macabre there real quick. Sorry.
we did. Because I'm trying to figure out if she started on fire, she didn't move from the chair.
No.
So that kind of rules out the fact as if she dropped her cigarette on her, started a fire. First thing you're going to do is jump up and try to get it off you.
Yeah, you would think.
Okay.
And
That's
this
what
is
you're going to try to do.
supposedly it's in the morning time, so that eliminates any kind of say tipsiness, shall we say?
Well, we don't know that. We can't say that for sure.
Well, check this out. I found this too. That's the picture of the phone. It's hard to tell because it's a smaller picture, but that whole look around that lower bit, it's all melted. But the lamp isn't touched.
Right.
Then
But
you
that's
got
what I mean. It kind of rules out the point that she did not drop that cigarette on her.
I wouldn't think so either because there's the TV and the doll he was talking about.
Yeah.
Look at that TV.
And that doll was made out of flammable materials. It should have gone up.
It should have. Yes,
You would have thought so.
absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
that's a wooden dresser that it's sitting on.
Yeah.
Wooden dresser.
That should have caught. You know, I mean, look at the TV and melted. It was hot enough for that dresser to
Mhm.
catch on fire.
Yeah.
It should have caught on fire.
Yeah.
There should have been more going on. So if she's sitting in the chair in that corner type thing, and it is across the room from her, and it is melting the TV, that makes sense what the lady said, that it was too hot for her to come up the stairs. If it was melting the TV, that the fire was burning so hot that it melted that.
But
Oh my
the
gosh,
stuff that
that
was
is so
quote unquote
creepy.
flammable,
That is so creepy.
yeah. But the stuff that was supposedly flammable, like the wood or the doll and stuff, there was no ignition source for them to start.
Right. It was just the heat.
The heat took that plastic and just turned it into goo.
Right. The heat melted it. That was it. It was just heat. It was not fire.
Yeah. All the fire was located just with her, and that was it.
You know what, guys? I think this one's more creepy than any of the other ones we've heard. This one
Yeah.
is wild.
Well, it's got more depth to it. Now I did find a site, and I'll put the actual what you call it, the link for this, because it's called the Helen Conway Postmortem Post on WordPress, and I'm going to put it
Yeah.
out in the what y'all go out and read it. It's got several of these that we've talked about tonight. You know, and
Yeah. And it'll probably show pictures.
it does have pictures. Several
Yeah,
of them we
that are
looked
more.
at.
Yeah, the full picture, because like I said, we're not gonna show that all on this show. If you
Oh,
want
there's,
to look
there's
it up.
a couple more out there too that we haven't even discussed. So,
All right, let's get one.
oh no, I didn't get them down because they're like, I'm like, These are ones we haven't. I haven't even researched because I didn't find them until I started reading this article just now. And I'm like,
goodness.
oh crap, we missed this one. We missed that one. I mean, Robert Francis Bailey was in 1967, and that was in South London. Okay.
Okay.
I'm looking. You don't want to see the picture on that one. I'll just tell you that right off the bat. There ain't no. There's no way I can take it all out because it did not take care of all the bone this time.
Okay.
Okay.
So that happened in London in 1967.
Yep.
Donnie, didn't one of the other stories we just talked about happen in 1967?
Actually, all of them. Not 67, but Helen Conway. Robert Francis Bailey. He was a homeless person in London. That was 67.
Yep.
John Irving Bentley, the doctor who died in his bathroom.
Yeah.
That was
66.
Yeah, that was 66.
66 and
66.
Okay.
Helen Conway,
64.
64.
Okay.
Mary Reeser's 51.
1951.
And then, of course, the guy we started off with, Michael Faraday, he's the closest one to everybody, and that was in 2010.
Yeah, but isn't it weird how we had all of those stories come right in the 60s?
Maybe that's why In Search Of did something on it, and it hasn't really been touched on since.
Maybe. Because they really can't explain it. They and it's really hard to do more than like 20 minutes on a show like that on something and get, to really discuss anything. It's just kind of like they tell you the facts that they know, and then it's up to you to determine what you feel about it.
I'm with you. It's straight conjecture after that. You really don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And even the coroners are stumped. Like the recent one that Michael Flaherty guy. Yeah, the coroner was like really quick to be like spontaneous human combustion because he had heard about it. See, the ones in the 60s, they had never heard about it.
Mm-mm.
They had no idea what that was.
And it still took him almost a year to actually sign off on it.
Yeah.
Probably because he didn't know he wanted to be truthful, but he just didn't know where to put it.
He did say in an interview, he said, I know I'm putting my career out online doing this, but I've got no other explanation. He could not find an external source. He could not find any fueling material. He's like, I just don't know what happened. And this is the only thing that fits it.
Right. I mean, maybe when these people were smoking, maybe with the heat of the cigarette close to their mouth. I don't know, guys. I don't know.
Here's another one. Uncivil came out with another one here. Uncivil engineer. Strange, but I question whether someone did it to her. That's the thing we haven't actually looked at before because nobody has said, "Hey, maybe somebody got in there and did this to them, and then left before anybody else showed up."
You got to remember, in none of the cases did they find any accelerant, and that's the first thing they look for.
Right.
And you would think that they would have to use accelerant.
If you're going to do that to someone, you would have an accelerant.
You'd have to.
Yeah.
I would think so. Something had
to burn quickly like that.
Yeah.
Or even slowly. Quickly. Even burning slowly, you have to have an ignition source and some sort of accelerant to get it going.
Yeah. I mean, because if we're talking about the one with the lady in the chair in her home where they didn't find her for 24 hours.
Yep.
I mean, there was literally hardly anything left of her or her chair, but it was just localized in that area. Right. I would feel that if they used some type of accelerant on any of these victims,
the whole place would have gone up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And with the heat being so high, to be so hot, that you would think that there would have to be some type of large flame coming off of these people, that it would also start something around them. But it's localized to where they were in that particular area. I don't know, guys. This is so weird. This
Yeah.
is like, I mean, I would hate to be the coroner trying to determine the cause of death because I'd be like, natural causes. That's all I got for you guys because I can't tell you anything else. It was all natural, it wasn't a homicide. It wasn't suicide,
Oh, hey, I just saw something now. We talk about John Irving Bentley. There's another story, another side of this, Donnie. I was just reading that Don Gosnell, the guy that found him, didn't find him till the next morning after he had people there that night before. He found him the next morning when he opened the door, let himself in. He didn't actually see the doctor. According to this, when he entered, he noticed the light blue smoke and a strange smell. That's when he went up and found him. So
Yeah.
that
Yeah. Because like I said, after the initial
well, I'm just saying this could have been going on all night though, is what I'm saying.
But after the first initial start of it, he's not gonna smell that until later.
Yeah. When he let himself in the next morning.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I'm looking for one that went up quick. The one that's closest has been the lady we talked about in 64, Helen Conway. Because she went upstairs at 8 o'clock in the morning. By 8:50, she was burned up.
Yeah.
So that's the man. That one's the one that really gets me because of how fast it happened.
Okay, so you're talking about in the okay, so the 1960s. Okay, so
Yeah, in the 60s.
They didn't have all the fire codes that they do now. I mean, they had some, but the houses that they were living in, the amount of damage that was done to her, the chair, and the heat, that the walls behind her should have been on fire.
And they looked like they were singed pretty good.
Fire.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that looked like smoke.
Yeah.
That
Smoke,
literally
wallpaper
looked
burning.
like smoke. That didn't
Yeah.
look like a burn. That looked like smoke.
Yeah.
So tell me how that goes. I mean, somebody's gonna have to explain this to me. Evidently nobody can, because I mean, we're sitting there, this woman is totally gone, except for a few things. She's totally gone, but yet nothing is burnt. It is damaged because of the heat.
Yeah.
But nothing is burnt besides her. I think that one is the one that would get me the most. I mean, out of all the stories that we've heard, this one here that we're discussing is the one that really gets me. Because there were witnesses to the point of just within an hour that this had all had happened, and we're noticing the damage. Like I said, it was very minimal from the fire, but from the heat of the fire, there's a lot of damage.
Okay. I'm reading now. I mean, we're talking about her, but I was reading on that Robert Francis Bailey one, and
he's the homeless guy.
Yeah, the homeless guy, and it sounds like, from what I'm reading here, when they found him, we're thinking he actually felt this, because the dude is laying to a point where he's on his side and he's clutching in his stomach area, like his stomach was hurting, but he was biting into the actual banister, the stairwell banisters. I'm like, he had to been hurting, bitten into the post on the stairs, which made of solid mahogany, and his teeth were embedded so deeply into the wood that his mouth had to be pried open by the fire department to get his body out. That's pain. I'm sorry, that's pain.
Yeah, that's, it's just sad. It's just sad all the way around.
Yeah.
And, even with all of the advances we have in the medical field and everything like that, we still can't determine what had happened. Only in 2011-12 there did we determine this diagnosis of death. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, when you guys are out there looking at, if you look at that link that I set out there, look at that very first one because there's some. I mean, even the description, the firefighter that responded to the call saw what he thought was what he described as a slit in the guy's stomach and a blue flame coming out like a torch. You know, like an actual acetylene torch coming out. Like,
Right.
yeah, y'all read those. Those are
It's a heck of a way to go.
and I don't even want to think about it. I don't even want to think about it, honestly.
Right. Yeah.
It sounds like he was in pain.
I don't know. And, we'll just have to keep looking for answers or waiting for answers or something on this subject. But it is time to get off of here because everybody just shoot on over to Paranormal Paul. He'll be coming on here at 8:30 Central. So turn over to his channel. And guys, I don't know. This subject is crazy. You just make up your own mind what you think it is because nobody's got an answer. That's all I got to say. Nobody's got
I
an
got
answer.
a hell of a lot more questions now than I had before.
That's right. That's right. Just remember that Blondes and Booze is on tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Central, so tune in for that. It is going to be me and Mary Lynn. Our co-hosts for tomorrow night are going to be Sir Brian Bowden and, of course, Bigfoot Michigan Rob. They're going to come join us tomorrow evening.
What would
so
you
we're going to
want
have a
those
good
two
time.
on there for?
Because the other two are going to be missing.
That's not the point.
Right,
Those two, though?
Those two. So it should be interesting.
Oh, Brian heard that.
Right. On Saturday, don't forget, tune into Donnie Cho Says Stuff. That is going to be at 8:30 p.m. Central. His guest is going to be Jason McLean. And this ought to be interesting. This ought to be interesting. So make sure you tune in for that, everyone. You guys got anything left to say?
Nope. I'm ready to go to bed.
I'm ready to go to bed. That's it. So good night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow night. Good night.
Night.